Sailing Sisu, if you want it. Sailing Sisu, if you dare. Sailing Sisu, you live. Sailing Sisu.
Provisioning nightmare. Yeah, this episode is based on my thought process and what I decided, how I decided to tackle this whole provisioning issue. And you're probably expecting me to sit here with a pile of tins and toilet rolls and stuff. Speaking of toilet rolls, we don't need a lot of these because we've got a bum gun, remember? So no, I'm not going to be posting how many stuff I bought, mountains of stuff next to me. I need to share with you the thought process of how and what and where I decided to do what. And just by the way, while I've got the toilet roll here, a brilliant way to save space when storing it is you just squish it down like that, and it becomes like a small little flat object, and you can just stack a lot of them. Innovative, very cool. Yes, as I said, it was a nightmare deciding what to get. You don't know where to start. Well, to me, it was like a complete blank. So when we were in Cape Town, I met up with these two lovely ladies that did the ARC, that rally, and they decided one morning to take me for coffee, and they said, Pietru, let's share some ideas with you, which was brilliant. The one's been sailing like for 22 years, the other one's been sailing for 8 years, so I was pretty convinced they know exactly what they're talking about. Yeah, so thanks to them, I based a lot of my decisions on the information they gave me. So where does a person start? I mean, you start with, first of all, how long? Now, to work out how long is quite simple. You just need to find out how many miles your boat does a day, more or less. Say your boat does 5 nautical miles a day, and your passage is, say, 1,000 miles. So you take your 5 times 24, and then divide it by 1,000, so you get to about 8.33333 infinity 3 days. It's going to take you to do the 1,000 miles. Now that is another question that they say you need to address. It's not set in stone. It's going to take 8 days. The weather plays a huge, big, fat role on everything else. You might come across an island that you decide to stop over for and spend another couple of days there. So there's no ways that you could just budget for an 8-day sail. So you always have to add. And there's also lots of controversy there. One says add 10%, others says add 50%. These two ladies, apparently, what you need to do is you start off your provisioning for 6 months. And then from there, you just stock up to your 6 months level, depending on what cruise you do. So I pretty much stocked up. I think I'm good to go for another 3 months. So I think I'm pretty close to my 6 months. So that's basically what I based everything on. Then the second question you need to ask yourself is how many people on board. It's just Flickr myself, but I mean for you guys, if you're going to have guests on board, if they've got allergies, find that out. Anything preferences, so you need to cater for that as well. And then another thing that you need to keep in mind as well is the stuff that you're really hooked on. You know, we love our biltong. I think in Aussie and New Zealand they call it beef jerky. Milo is also something that we know we can't get anywhere else. So then you stock up on stuff that you know you're not going to get anywhere else, and you really cannot go without. So rather stock up on that. So that's the basic. The main thing is how long and how many people. That's what you've got to keep in mind. Now, where do you start? What I did is I worked on 10 meals, 10 recipes, good old trusty recipes, heart-filling recipes, everybody loves recipes. It's just nutritional value, all the values are in there, and it's easy to prepare. So that's how I started my list. I took a piece of paper, I wrote down my 10 favorite recipes that I need to make, and then that is where your shopping list starts from. So I picked 10 meals, and that's how I started. Another option that you can go as well is about a month to a little bit more than a month. Document everything that you cook every single day, from the minute you wake up to the time you go to bed. So it'll be morning teas, it'll be lunches, it'll be breakfast, it'll be snacks, it'll be supper, whatever. Document every single thing, but bearing in mind boat-wise. So you write down, you start your spreadsheet, and you've got your, say, your cold, your meats, your vegetables, your condiments, your spices, your sauces, your whatever you cook with, your fresh veggies. You just write everything down, and as you cook every single day, you say, I used 1 onion to do this, or I used 2 potatoes to do that, or whatever. So you just, that's another way to do the list. So then you've got a general list, and then you compile your recipes thereafter. But I prefer to go the recipe way first. So I worked on my 10 recipes, I wrote down all the ingredients I'm going to need for that, and that's how I based it. Plan your meals. Also a personal thing. Are you going to have breakfast, lunch, and supper, and snacks, or are you just going to have a brunch and supper? You need to clarify that you can see what meals to budget for, so that you make up your mind for. So now we see. Okay, the 10 meals that I wrote down, just to give you an example, for instance, common beef stew. Let's just work on a beef stew to show you how easy it is actually to proportion it. Average portion per person meat-wise is about 250 grams. So okay, now we're making beef stew. So for one person I need 250 grams of meat. Then say we put carrots in. Average size carrot, 1 carrot per person. About a medium-sized potato per person. Then for the pot we're going to need about 2 onions and say 2 tomatoes. And then we're going to need salt and pepper and cooking sauce or thickening agents or veggie stock or whatever. So you write everything down. So once you've done that, then you've got your 1 meal already done for 1 person. So you just add, for more people, you just add the 250 grams extra for the meat and for the potatoes and the carrots and say green beans, 150 grams roughly. So you just like a handful, so you can more or less judge. So there's the making already of 1 meal, and you've got your quantities ready. So that's super awesome, easy to do. And okay, now you're gonna say cook rice with it. Now a cup of raw rice feeds about 4 people. So if you're gonna be 2 people, then you write down there half a cup of rice. That's what we used for the stews dish. Another thing that you can do is, as I said, I worked on 10 recipes, so that's a 10-day cycle. So every 10 days you only have the same meal. For instance, cottage pie that you make with ground beef. Now you can vary on that. Why do it with ground beef again the next time? You can do it with cubed chicken. Play around with your recipes. There's a site called allrecipes.com. They've got millions of downloadable recipes. So you can prepare yourself, get a couple of recipes for fish, for meat, for pork, for chicken, whatever, and then you just download that. So now not only do you have a 10-day cycle, but you've got it with a difference as well. Everybody's going to love you for doing that. So it's not going to get monotonous, it's not going to get boring. Okay, what I did, the 10 main meals, I basically broke it down into the big different meat groups. Let's start with the beef. As I said earlier on, you need 250 grams per person per meal. So it's Flickr myself. So say if I decided we're going to have beef 3 times a month. So 1 meal would be 250 for him and 250 for me, which is half a kg. So if we're going to have it 3 times a month, it's 1.5 kgs of beef that you need. So simple as that. That one's ticked. Now with the beef as well, what we did is I got a whole rump and a whole fillet.
Oké, dan ja, laat ik op de website.
Cutting up the meat. we're going to need red meat as well.
Yeah.
Point number 1, no bones. So there's no storage wasted on bones that nobody eats. So I just went for the pure meat and I just cut them up in 250-gram portions. So eventually when you defrost your meat again, you can either do a steak or you can cut it up finely and do a goulash, or you can cube it and do a curry with it. So at least it's portioned already. And then I vacuum seal it in my vacuum sealer bags. This is just where I need to show you. This is how I vacuum my meat. So it's a nice long square, flat, and pretty much the same shape. So I squish it and I pack them on top of one another so they freeze in these shapes. So it's easy when you take them out, they're all the same size, so the one doesn't overlap the other one in the freezer. And then when you stack all your stuff, so you've got your ground beef, you've got your steaks, you've got your chicken, whatever, so they all come up to the top of the freezer, so you just pick off the top. So no delving down at the bottom or anything. This just worked out brilliantly. And even your chicken breast as well. That's like 2 portions. So it's also more or less the same shape. So you stack your next shape of chicken. Yeah, so the beef, as I said, I picked with no bones. So I did my fillet steaks and I did my rump steaks. And then your chicken is so easy. It's portioned already. We like the thighs and the drummies. So that's only 1 bone in the drummy. And the thigh is a little bit of bone. So we don't do the breast and all that. The breast I do as I showed you now. The skinless, boneless, whatever. So that's also the optimum space that I could use using that type of meat, and there's so much you can do with that chicken. Also, again, you vacuum them in the 250-gram portions. I just do them 500 grams at a time, so it's 1 meal for the 2 of us. Then you've got your ground beef that I showed you as well. I also do them in 500-gram portions, so you do your bolognese, you do your cottage pie, whatever, so it's already done up in there. I wanted to bring in pork as well. But obviously your ribs is everybody's favorite, but it's just bones, 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 so it's pointless. Unless you boil them before the time, you take the bones out and you freeze it like that. But what fun is it eating nice pork rib and you can't hold the bone in your hand? So I didn't go for that option. I just again went for the fillet of the pork. So I just froze them, it's small. So I just cut them open and I just almost like butterfly them, and I stuff them with dried mangoes and banana and cranberries, and I roll it, so it makes quite a big meal. But then whatever's left over is tomorrow's lunch, so nothing ever goes to waste. So again, it's also a long square thing that you freeze. That worked out brilliantly. Sausages, we've got in South Africa what we call boerewors, which is a beef sausage. There you can either do it yourself, you can buy your bulk. You work on about a 20 centimeter per person portion. So what I did is I just cut them in 3 of those and I vacuum the 3 of them. That's a meal for us. So unless what you can do with all this, you can go to your butcher and say to him, I want 250-gram portions and please freeze them. And they fast freeze it because they freeze like overnight, rock solid. So if you don't have the facility on the boat to freeze it so quickly, ask the butcher to do it, and they have no problem doing that for you. So well, those are my main meats varieties that I went with. The main meal is done for. Now, what goes with it? Your fresh veggies is all your root veggies last forever. Not forever, they last long. So it's all your carrots and your sweet potatoes and your potatoes, your onions, your cabbage, butternuts. All those things last quite a long time without being refrigerated. And then your soft veggies, your tomatoes, your lettuce, your bananas, all those type of things. Don't overstock on that because it's gonna go off. So then you're gonna be wasting time and money on that. So just buy enough and concentrate on eating that first before you get to the other stuff. So at least they're all used. And then as a backup as well, for those days that the oceans are not kind on us and you don't feel like cooking. So I've stocked up on tinned meat as well. You look at your tinned meals as well, biryani or your tinned chicken, tuna, you've got such a variety, meatballs, all that. So I've got that as well. And what I've also done with that is I've stocked up enough for my grab bag. So you put all your tin stuff that you need, extra stuff with your rehydrated stuff, you put into your grab bag as well. We were newbies when we started off. We had no idea who's going to be seasick and who not. And what do you do? Everybody's man down, everybody's sick, and nobody feels like cooking, and everybody's just disorientated, and nobody's having a good time. So what I've done is I have pre-cooked 3 different type of meals. I've pre-cooked beef stew, pre-cooked soup, and I pre-cooked bolognese sauce. And that worked out like a charm. So I've got about 10 meals of each that I did in a 350-gram little container, which is a whole meal. So for those days that nobody feels well and everybody's hungry, you just pop that in the microwave and Bob's your uncle. So that helped me a lot as well. I mean, just the 3 of those, 10 meals each, was like 15 days food, which you're obviously not going to use the first month, but that helped a lot in a lot of situations. That we just took that out, heated it up, and everybody was happy. But there is such a variety, so we concentrate more towards having a brunch. So you have breakfast bars, you have yogurt. What we do is I bought off-the-shelf yogurt. So you just chuck them under the storage in the bowls. They don't have to go in the fridge. They just last forever. Yogurt does what yogurt does. So this works out like a charm. You do your eggs, you do chorizo, you do sausages, you do, if you have a bread maker, you can make fresh rolls every day or fresh bread every day. So a brunch is such a variety. There's so much stuff that you can put in there as well. Cheese, for instance, I bought huge loaves of cheese and I cut them up in 300-gram portions. You can do it 500 gram, depends on how much you eat at a time. And then you freeze them, so you just take them out on demand. Your butter as well, that freezes very well, no problem there. Bacon also, it's pre-packed in 500 grams, so that's already portioned. We have half a pack per meal, so you just cut them in half, or you just use the half and you just freeze the other half. So that's already portioned, so that just makes shopping so much easier. So you can work out, we're going to have so many breakfasts that's going to involve bacon, so many that's going to involve pork sausage. So those sausages also, they normally come in about a 10 to 12 centimeter long, so you can also absolutely buy per sausage that you can plan your meal. So that's very easy. Lunch would be leftovers from yesterday, or if you have a fresh bread in the oven just with butter and cheese or whatever. So I didn't really cater for lunch. Snacks. That is so important. Snacks comes in very handy when everybody's not feeling well. Snacks comes in very handy when somebody is on night duties and they've got the munchies. I've got the one underfloor storage bin completely dedicated to snacks, and that list is just endless. It is jelly sweets, it is cookies, it's potato crisps, it is chorizos, cup of soup, you name it, muffins. You can make a lot of muffins, put that in the bulges. Anything that you can think of, you can lay nuts, olives, crackers, dips. And it's not only for snack time, it's for sundowners. Like we've got a sundowner now at the moment. It's just the nicest thing just to relax with a glass of wine and having some olives and chorizo or some salamis. It's just amazing. So your snacks, you can never ever have enough snacks. That's the first thing that we ran out of, was snacks. So I'll always replenish my snacks. And it's the nice bit is, now that we've done some traveling and we've come to some different places, it's all the different type of stuff that you can get. So there's not really a hard and fast rule to set up a provision spreadsheet, because that changes at every port. It changes. You can, for your basic stuff like your sugars and your flours and your rice and whatever, you can have a basic provision list for that. But all the other stuff is, I don't know about you guys, but we want to experience new cultures, so you try and cook what the locals cook. So there's always new stuff, otherwise you're going to land up with a list from here down to Cairo. So I wing it. I just wing it. But there is an awesome downloadable provision sheet that you can get from the Boat Gallery. It's Caroline. You can download it for free. So I downloaded it, so I'll play around with it and see if it's going to work for me, but I'm not sure. As I said, we just go on demand, and when there's new stuff to be had and new stuff to be experienced, and we go for that. So it's pretty useless then having to stock up what you're used to stocking up. Okay, some general tips. Never ever ever go to the store without a list and when you're hungry. You're going to land up buying stuff you don't really need, or you're going to land up not buying stuff that you seriously need. So never go hungry and never go without a list. If you can, try and see if there is a online shopping available. I did that in Cape Town from our local Pick and Pay, and they deliver to the boat. They are absolutely amazing. So, which is just nice, because then you've got a better perspective of what you're buying, and it's not a spur of the moment thing, and you can actually sit down and say, I want 6 of these, 3 of those, 5 of those. Okay, the first couple of days at sea, everybody, well, you can never suspect who's going to get sick and who's not going to get sick. So it's a very big of a toss-up. Who's going to be man down and who's going to be feeding who. So don't plan any heavy meals such as curries or creamy stuff or things like that. So there you prepare your add water products and your frozen veggies and frozen meals that you plan for those days. Another thing that happens on a boat as well is you misplace stuff. You pack your stuff away and you're quite sure you know where you put everything, but it's true, Bob, if you're looking for that can of apples or whatever that you're dying to have now, you can't find it for some unknown reason. So it's a good idea to have an inventory of where you stock what. In other words, say aft, port cabin, underfloor storage, bin A, we've got baked beans, rice, blah blah blah, what we've got in there, so you know exactly where your stuff is on the boat. That's a pretty good idea. I don't have that on our boat. It's quite simple. It's just the two of us, so there's not really a lot of stuff. And if you look back at my previous episode that I did on storage, you'll remember the underfloor storage in the saloon area. I've got the underfloor bin, so my everyday stuff I have that I use every single day. Then my bulk storage I've got on the port side, aft, and forward cabin underneath the floor. So that's very simple. The back one's got all the canned stuff. And as you will see, I managed to fit in 6 of these units in one bin. Plus there was extra storage space for loose stuff to go in there as well. So there's layer number 1. And then you get layer number 2. So you just purely lift the one up to get to the other one. Very simple. And coffees and stuff like that. The front one's got the cleaning agents, toiletries, that type of thing, with my vacuum sealed bags. So it's pretty straightforward. I've got 2 areas that I need to go look at. Otherwise everything is right here where I need it. Okay, another thing that makes life very easy is add water options. This is so quick to make. So it's add water. You can do your pancakes, you can do muffins, you can do cup of soups, anything like that. So Ziploc bags. You use, they say don't dump plastic in the ocean, which we don't do, but it's amazing how many Ziploc bags a person goes through. A nice idea with this as well, if you do your meat, you freeze your meat or whatever in here, even in your vacuum seal bags when you freeze your meat, after you've opened it on the long side. Remember what I showed you earlier on how to freeze them? Then once your meat is taken out, just rinse it out with a bit of salt water. Just rinse it out. And then what I do is I keep it open, but then I actually roll it up sideways. So it forms a long thing like that. Then I twist it and I make a knot in it. Which is, so you make the knot towards the open end. So there it's small and the odor is inside. So it doesn't smell, because this is the stuff that you can only chuck on land. So this goes into your garbage bin and it stays on the boat. I double bag my stuff when the bin is halfway full and I put it in the front locker, but even so, this avoids unnecessary odors. So this works like a charm. Okay, Ziploc bags. You know when you put stuff in a Ziploc bag and you have to squeeze to get all the air out? Look at this neat trick. somebody showed me the other day. Let me show you what we do with a Ziploc bag. I've got a piece of gammon here that I need to seal for a while. I don't want to take out the vacuum sealer down at the bulges. So let me show you how it's done. Okay, the gammon's inside the bag, so you leave a gap over at the top, so I just seal it from the ends inwards, leaving a gap open. And now you submerge it into the water, just dragging it down, and then just careful not to get the zip section in the water, so the water doesn't go in, and then you close up. And look at that. One zip-locked piece of meat. Okay, cardboard boxes. That is the stuff that cockroaches love to lay their eggs in. So I just get rid of any box, any form of box I can. So I just put everything into my Ziploc bags, into my containers. This works like a bomb. Another thing is, another thing is what they say is put bay leaves in with your flour and your couscous and your rice and your pastas and stuff to stop the weevil eggs from hatching. You want to contain it, so you don't want that little baby to lay 10 million eggs, which happened in the lasagna. So what happened is just my lasagna container was contaminated, not the entire bin. So it's a bit of a loss, but at least I just chuck that, everything's still fine, nothing wrong with it. So that works like a charm. Where with the cardboard boxes, they will just multiply and just infest everything that you have on board. When it comes to tins as well, labels, the big thing. Should we take labels off? Should we write on the lids? What should we do? What I do is I keep my labels on, because that is just the old story, unless you really put your tins right at the bulges where it can get to seawater and it can rust. So you don't want to play tin roulette and wonder what's inside it. So I just leave mine in because they're nice and secure inside a container. The only reason I write on top is just when you look down, because they're down at the bottom in the floor, so you don't have to take each tin out to find out what it is. You can reach from the top. If they lie sideways, you can see in any way what's there. But if they stand up straight, you need to write to see what's inside the tin. Especially if it's rough going, you don't want to unpack 20 tins before you get to the tin that you want. That can't be fun. Eggs. Now in the olden days, they used to cover their eggs in Vaseline to make them last longer if they're outside the fridge. So eggs can be out the fridge for just up to 6 weeks to 3 months. It's a known fact these days, if they breathe naturally, they last longer. But can you imagine if you've got a crew of 8 and they have 1 egg a day each for 30 days? Can you imagine covering 240 eggs with Vaseline? That's going to take up quite a bit of your sailing time. So, no, we don't do the Vaseline thing. Another thing to check if the egg is still okay, you take a glass of water, put the egg in. If it goes to the bottom, it's good to go. If it floats at the top, chuck it. You don't want to open that baby on the boat with those odors. I don't think anybody's going to like eggs. Yeah, so that's a myth. So we just keep our eggs. The only thing I do is I turn it every second day, so that the yolk doesn't stick to the side, because then they do go off. So I just turn them every second day. I keep them out the fridge. But the main thing as well is when you buy them, they have to be off the shelf. Don't buy refrigerated stuff and then keep them out the fridge. That will go off quickly. Like as I said with the yogurts as well, you buy off the shelf stuff, keep them out the fridge, and they will last much longer. Potatoes and citrus. Don't let the two lie together or be close to one another. For some unknown reason, the citrus enhances the potato to sprout. So try and keep these two separate. Bananas, when you buy bananas on the islands, and there's lots of bags and stuff that comes with it, a hand of bananas. Another thing is you tie a rope to the end of the stalk and drag it behind the boat for a couple of miles, and that will get rid of all the gogos and let it just dry properly, and rinse it off or just pat it dry properly before you put it back into wherever you keep your bananas. Another thing with the bananas, don't keep it with anything else as well, because that enhances ripening. If you put it with unless you want the avo to ripen quickly, just plonk a banana next to it. It will ripen quickly. But otherwise, it enhances the ripening process. Tomatoes as well, you can buy that an idea, what I try and do if I can get it that way, is to get your different stages of ripeness. So semi-green to almost ripe to ripe. So that way your tomatoes will last quite a bit longer. Fresh veggies and fruit as well. Try to keep that shopping till the second last day. The last day if you can, but at the most second last day. If you buy it before the time, it's going to ripen before you even get to the wherever you need to go. When you start your sale, you're going to lose half of your stuff already. So try and, yeah, at the most 2 days, but try for a day before the time. Big quantities. Do you buy a big bottle of dishwashing liquid and decant it into small ones as you use it, or do you just buy a couple of small ones? ARC ladies told me what worked for them. Initially they went for the bulk, but they said that was just took up too much space, because now you've got this 5-litre container and you're decanting, and now you're stuck with about a litre that's left over, but now you need to provision, so you go and buy another 5 litres, so you've got double the storage space because you've still got that much to use. So they said just buy a lot of small ones, so as you use the small ones, at least now you're making space for other stuff that you're buying, so it's not space wasted. It works out for them far more economical. Some other stuff you use so little that it goes off, so you'll end up chucking that in anyway. So like your big oils and stuff, consumable stuff. So they say rather smaller units, and as you use them, you make space for extra storage. So that kind of makes sense to me. So a bread maker we don't have, as I said, because I promised myself I'm going to learn how to make bread. Slow cooker. I have an 8-in-1 cooker that doubles up as a slow cooker as well, so that's a definite yes. I would absolutely go for that. An electric pressure cooker. I don't have at this stage, but I would seriously consider getting one of those, especially when you start bulk cooking and you want to freeze before you leave. So a pressure cooker will work like a charm. Plastic containers. These plastic containers, as I said, I'm on a container system, so that works for me. I will really provision for that as well. Then your vacuum sealed bags, your Ziploc bags, that's stuff that you really need. Then a cob. A lot of people use a cob. We have a Weber braai because we're South Africans, so we like our braai. So my Weber works perfectly. If I close the lid, I can do like a roast chicken in it. We can do pizza in it. We can do everything in it. So the Weber works for us. Then we've got a soda stream, and we've got a booze maker. And I'll add on to that. Now, instead of buying liters and liters of alcohol with storage space, here in the galley we've got 2 bunks that we dedicate to beer and wine. And then as far as our spirits go, this is what space we use. With our booze maker, we make 93% alcohol, and this gets decanted into this little baby. Then as we need, we decant into this little bottle up to about a third of the 93. Then you add water, which brings it down to 42% alcohol, and then you add a couple of drops of your essence, which in our case is our rum, but we have a couple of essences. So that is the extent of our alcohol. And then to add our soda, we've got the soda stream, and then we've got juices. So we've got our energy drinks, we've got our colas, we've got everything, and here is our collection, our storage space. So this works for us. It's been working for us for almost 7,000 miles now already. So that is the alcohol side of it and cold drink side of it. When it comes to water, we do have a water maker. What we do for the grab bag is you buy these 5-litre container waters. Then you just decant a bit of water out of it, I would say less than a quarter, and tie a rope through all of them. So if you do land up having to get into your life raft, just chuck that overboard as well, tie it to your life raft so it doesn't take up space inside the life raft, and emptying it out a little bit will make it float at the top of the water, so it will be attached to your life raft and you will have a water supply. Okay, and don't forget to go look at the episode on how we make rum from seawater. I think that was episode 29, I think. Then medical as well, I also did an episode on that, episode 27, some official crisis control and medical whatever. So there I've done a complete rundown of the medical supplies that we're going to have on board, or what we do have on board, so you can go check that one out as well. And that is basically the provisioning side of it. I hope I've shared some useful information with you. Just a couple of, I'm going to leave you with a couple of what-ifs that you have to bear in mind when you go shopping, or when you plan how much of what, and what else to bear in mind is, what if the fridge goes? What if the freezer goes? What if the water maker goes? What if we run out of fresh meat? What if we want to stay a week longer in a nice little sweet spot? So keep all those things in mind when you provision. You know, that's why I said the 6 months worked for us so far. I've still got quite a bit of stock left, so I'm just going to top up in about a month's time just to do that. But the daily provisioning we do as we go along. But for me, 6 months, it's quite a bit of stock in the beginning, but I felt very comfortable with that, and I felt very secure that we will not run out of food. Because the catching of fish is a bit of a debate, because we haven't been catching fish. We've caught 4 fish when we left South Africa, and that was the last of the fish that we caught. So don't bargain on fresh fish every single day, unless you're very lucky. I don't know. We don't have that touch. So yeah, there we go. So happy shopping and have fun with it, because it is fun. Ciao.
Our food arrived.
Feel the spray of the waves on my face. Atlantic, Indian, ocean blue.